Hello, everyone, and welcome to Veterans in Crisis podcast. Today we have Michael Beavers. Michael is a staff nurse in a rehab ward in Horton, but also ex-serving Navy personnel and a VIX client. All right, Michael, how's it going?
Aye, not bad, yeah, not bad.
I
How about
know
you?
you're nervous, and I know you've not used Zoom very much before, but
No,
it's just a conversation, mate. So if you
it's
if you
all right.
if
It
you
took us a
feel
while
that
to get on.
if you feel like you're just going to be sort of grassing yourself up for something you shouldn't be doing at work, just stop. All right, I'll wave at you.
I'm on my holidays, we're all right.
All right, all right. Right, mate. Do you want to start off by telling us about a little bit about where you grew up and stuff?
Aye, grew up in Sunderland, lived in Sunderland all my life, born in Southwick till I was about 7. And then Mum and Dad bought a house at Way of View, a red house.
Oh, posh, yeah, posh.
Aye, we were there now, nobody bought
Moved
their own houses
moved up
then.
in the world there, didn't
So I
you?
went from Southwick to Way of View.
Oh man.
Um, And then from there, we moved down to Roker when I was about 14. I went to Red House Comp. Didn't want to move schools, so I stayed at Red House. Living down Roker was a bit of a nightmare.
Aye.
I got tortured off some of the Weymouth kids as a kid, but I knew most of them, and I was never one guy looking for fights. So, and they knew that, so I never got that much bother. But loved growing up in Roker.
Aye. It's a nice place, man, isn't it?
Aye, joined the Navy when we lived at Roker. I was 18 when I joined up. A couple of mates of mine were already in. They both loved it at the time. One of them went on to serve 30 odd year. The other one left after 5.
What made you join? Because they were joined.
Well, that was part of it, but the main thing was I left school in '83. They shut the yards, shut
Is
the
that
pits.
1983?
Aye. But yes, left in '83. Shut the pits, shut the yards. There was no jobs, no apprenticeships. I would have loved to have become an electrician, but it didn't happen. You know, there was no apprenticeships when I left school. So, like I say, a couple of my mates were in the Navy, and that was a choice of all other forces, really. So I joined up. They noted in my family about, you know, my dad wasn't in the Navy, my granddad wasn't in the Navy, nothing like that. My mates influenced us, really.
Aye. Did you not fancy
Yeah.
joining something good like the army?
Never, no, that never crossed my mind. I did nearly join the Marines, actually,
Aye, nearly.
but I'm pleased I didn't.
Aye.
I think I'm a bit soft for that, because I went to apply a year. I was 18 when I went in, but I went to apply a year earlier than I did, and went to join the Marines then. And I was, I'm about your height, mate.
6'2".
About that height. But I was about 6 stone when I first went, and the Marines is not for you, son. Go away, do a bit training, put a bit weight on, and come back in a year's time. So put a bit weight on, went away. I was boxing, I was weight training, running, fit as out. You just what we want for the Marines. And then I changed my mind. I don't want to join the Marines. I want to join the Navy. I want to trade. So he couldn't persuade us otherwise, because my two mates were in. So that's when I joined the Navy.
So did you go and sign on next door to the fishbowl?
Yes, absolutely. That's where I went. That was it. That was, I think it was the Navy in the RAF at the time, because the Army was down Burton.
Borough Road. Aye, next door to the borough.
That's right.
Burton House.
The Burton House.
Aye.
Burton House. Yes. So yes, that's where I went. Aye.
Well, I went to next door to the fishbowl and inquired about the Marines, and then went down to the army. Like,
Aye.
you know, if I would have made the Marines, to be quite honest. Like.
Aye.
So I know from doing other podcasts with Navy people that you do about 10 weeks training, and then you go and pick your trade training. Is that right?
That's right. Aye.
So what did you pick?
I was a weapons engineer mechanic.
Is that the same as Sam?
I think so. Aye. It changed. I mean, there's only about 4 or 5 years between me and Sam, but it had changed between me and her joining up. But I was already selected to be a weapons engineer, which I wanted to be anyway. You know, I was interested in electronics and stuff, and I wanted to trade. So that's where I went in as. So fit as out, really fit. When I went to rally, sailed through rally from a fitness point of view. Failed the odd kit muster, as we do, but got through no bother. Good lads, as you know. You know, everybody who's been in the forces will say the same. And then I went to HMS Collingwood, which I think is where Sam trained as well. Did me trade training there, and it all sort of went downhill from there. I was a 9.5 stone, 10 stone, fit as out, and then rapidly discovered drinking and went down that road.
Well, it's a story from all the forces that though.
Aye.
No, it's not just one. Every single one of them, every single person I've spoken to, drank far too much than you normally would in another job.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because I was explaining the other day is you could drink as much as you wanted, as long as you went to work the next morning. Even if you were drunk when you went to work, as long as you were at work, that was all right.
Absolutely. Couldn't do it now, mind.
No, fucking health and safety, you couldn't do it, mate. I'm not surprised, man. You know, it's just the forces have just turned out 1 million alcoholics.
I'm not surprised. That doesn't surprise us at all, mate. It doesn't.
You know, you just said about rally. It just brought something to my mind. You know, when you're just flicking through shite telly, right? The other day, I was flicking through, and do you know Keith Floyd, the
chef.
The chef. He was really young, and he was at HMS Raleigh, and they were cooking outside as if there'd been a nuclear war, and they were cooking bread buns and stuff in bins. That just coming to my mind. I did. I watched it. Well, you know, when you're just flicking and you watch for about 10 minutes.
McDonald's.
And it would probably be. I remember seeing because the sport were lost and shit. They weren't allowed at sea then. So I know Sam was one of the first ones allowed at sea.
It was actually.
So it might have been round about your time. So you can't remember him turning up, can you? Because he'd have been drunk.
No, I can't. That's it. He'd have made a good matlow, actually. He would have made a good matlow. I tell you what, the start when I left, when I was leaving in 1990, I did my 5 year. That's when Wrens was starting to go to say that. That's partly why I tell Sam. That's partly why I left. I was
spoiled it.
But I happy days. But
where was your first posting like?
I joined the HMS Cleopatra, which it was a Leander class frigate, based down in Plymouth. I asked, well, typical forces, they give you a choice. Where do you want to be? What sort of ship do you want? I asked for Rosyth up in Scotland, and I asked for Type 42 destroyers. So I got the opposite end of the country, Leander class frigates down in Plymouth. And that's where I ended up. You know how it works, mate.
That sums it up. That sums it up brilliantly.
So that's where I ended up. But a couple of the lads who I went to training with joined with us on the same ship. So I ended up there, and I've got to say, when I look back now, I enjoyed every minute of it. The social side was fantastic. Met some great mates who, mates for life, which you do. But I, like most young lads, didn't like discipline, didn't like being told what to do. Some of the officers, you look at them and think they haven't got a clue what they're talking about. You know, whereas you were from, a place like Sunderland, and you're down to earth, you grasp things, and some of them just didn't, upper class people. And
the sort of intelligent, as in like exams and stuff, but not much common sense. That's what I found. Like, I mean, I can only speak about the army, and the second lieutenants that used to come in. Jesus.
Well, we had midshipmen, and they were the same. Honestly, you used to look at them and think, "Oh God, what have I got here?" Sort of thing. But I had some massive laughs on the Clio. We're in New York. We're all up and down the east coast of America. But our main I don't know if this is top secret or what. I don't know if I can tell you this, mate.
Well, nobody watches this, so you can see it.
But I will. The ship I was on, it was during the Cold War, 85 to 90. And we used to, it was patrolling up in the Baltic. That's what we used to do. So we were all, I was bloody freezing, always cold.
Is that why it's called the Baltic?
It must be, mate. But yes, we were always up there. And it was absolutely, we were up in the Arctic Circle. I got some sort of certificate for being up in the Arctic Circle and spending so much time.
The cycling proficiency.
It was the same sort of thing. It was the only qualification I did get while I was in. But yes, I did. And it was like we were so far up, it was 6 months of daylight and 6 months of darkness. We're that far up. But our job was to patrol our waters and hunt Russian submarines and make sure they didn't come into our waters and vice versa. And that's what we did. So I did that for a year and a half.
So did you get, if you did it a year and a half, did you get 2 6 months sun and 1 dark, or the opposite?
Yeah, no, that's the way it was. We had 6 months of sun and 6 months of dark. That's the way it worked. It was weird, like.
That would play havoc with you.
Doing rounds on the upper deck at like 3 in the morning, and it could be broad daylight, and then doing rounds again another time of the year at like say 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It'd be pitch black. Like midday, it'd be pitch black. It was weird.
So when you're hunting submarines, I'm assuming it's just like sonar, is it? Because I'm just asking because I watched a film the other day, and it was called Greyhound. Have you seen it? It's a new film, Tom Hanks. It's about hunting submarines in the Second World War.
Well, that's pretty much what we did, but during the Cold War. We had a lot of sonar gear. We had missiles on board as well, we had radar, which when we were at sea, it was all shut down. All that was working was the sonar. And obviously they had Russian subs underwater tracking us as well. So that was what we did. There was a couple of incidents of note. One time we thought we'd found a Russian sub, and it was a dead whale. So we followed this dead whale for God knows how long, floating along, and that's what we found. And there was another time...
you didn't find out that, and it was an alive whale beforehand, was it?
I think I might have chucked a few stones at it, but that was it. Not exciting. But there was another time I think we were a bit naughty, and they detected us where we shouldn't have been, and the ship just went silent. That's probably the scariest moment I had, because there was no wars when I was in. That's probably the scariest moment I had. The ship just went silent, and we slowly crept away. They knew where we were, and we knew where they were, but we just slowly sailed into our own waters, and it was pretty scary stuff, it was.
Do you know because I spoke to someone else, and they went around the Caribbean, and then they would be on the drink all the time. Do you get out like that?
Not as much. We were all up and down the States, New York, Florida, Norfolk. We had about all up and down the east coast of America, and a little bit time in Portugal and Amsterdam. But the States was great. Loved the States. It was they loved us. When we went in uniform, absolutely loved the British.
Was that your best posting then?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, mind you, 3 days in Amsterdam, I think it was better than the whole lot. It was fantastic.
I used to go all the time when I used to smoke, but now I don't smoke. There's not much point in going. Unfortunately, I'm going to do the Amsterdam Marathon because it looks like it's still on. So.
Oh, so you've got no choice. Is that why you're doing all the training down there?
I hope it's getting cancelled, to be honest. Everything else has been cancelled. I don't know why they don't keep that on.
They must know that you're doing it, yeah.
You know. I'm sure somebody else is sending us these emails telling us to keep training.
There's a wind-up.
So how long were you in then, in the end?
I did 5 years. I mean, to be honest, I don't know if I should say this or not. you know, we've all been done a few times for it. I've not serious, never got sent to prison. But what people who served with us say the highlight of my career was getting winched on board in New York Harbour. Absolutely plastered. And that's one of my claims to fame. There was a big deal going on the flip because it was 1986, 100 years of liberty when the French gave New York the Statue of Liberty. So we were anchored off in the Hudson, in the river, and a lot of other ships from other countries, and we were allowed on a ferry boat, like what we call a passport, into harbour, so we could go ashore in our uniform and just, go for a drink or whatever.
Just a sociable drink.
Yes, absolutely, but it turned into a bit more than that. But absolutely plastered, and got in the ferry boat, and I couldn't get on the ladders, so drunk. So the officer of the day came along, get the swimmer of the watch gear out, and I had to be winched on board. I couldn't make the ladders. Chucked us on the flight deck where there was a cock and arse party going on, and the officers had a massive party, and then there's me plonked on the middle of the upper deck with all this party going on. So I hurriedly chucked down the mess, and I had alcohol poisoning for a couple of days.
Did you?
Well, I found a miscellaneous bottle on the street, because what we were doing, we were walking around the street. There were street vendors selling beer. I will have a beer, and then round, have another beer, use the pub next door for the toilet, and then I bought a bottle of some sort of spirits, probably whiskey. I was quite a big drinker at the time, and then found a bottle in a brown bag on the street. Well, that looks like whiskey, I think I'll drink that. Drank that, and I was absolutely ill for days. Got done for it, like. Right, quite naughty.
Well, one tip, don't pick bottles up in case you get spiked. All right.
I think somebody might have spiked us.
So how old were you when you left in 5 years? So 23, were you?
23 when I came out.
You come back to Sunderland?
I did. I came back home, back to my mum and dad's. I mean, after 5 years living on your own, well, not living on, but being in the forces, coming back to your mum and dad, it was like, oh,
no,
it's
difficult, isn't it?
It was hard. It was harder for them than it was for me.
Yeah.
But I did stay at home. But jobs wise, I just bummed about in factories, manual labour, operator and stuff like that. Didn't do much with myself. Still a drinker. Just live for the weekend, really. So had a good time, and then a mate of mine, very, very good mate of mine, got us a job in a place called Wellstream. It's they make stuff for the oil industry, and he sort of lit a fire under us. Changed what I was doing, changed my habits. Still working shifts, and what I did an engineering HNC. Past that, I used to go at night when I was at work. He got us a job working with him, and I got the qualification. And when I was there was no immediate promotion, which, that's why I did it. So, I mean, like I say, I spent years in factories, got the qualification, and then what I did, I went for an interview for a Nissan supplier. I'll not say the name, but I worked for a Nissan supplier and absolutely detested it. It was like I was tortured. It was the company I worked for it was a bullying culture, and I was like, I'm either going to belt somebody and knock them out, or I've got to get out of this. So that's when I thought I needed complete change in career, and that's when I decided I want to be a nurse.
So how old were you then?
Oh God, I must have been. Actually, I'd met Christine. So I met Christine when I was in my 30s. I think I was about 36 when I started my nurse training. But by then I'd met Christine, and we were engaged, and then we got married while I was working at the company. But I'd only been working for Wellstream for a little while when we met, and then, like I say, went to and I thought I'm going to do my nurse training. My mum was a nurse. My mates were amazed. They were like, "No way, you know, ex-Matlow, raggy arse factories." Nobody thought I would ever do it. It never entered my mind, but you got a bursary, so you were able to do the course. What actually got us on the course, you had to have the A levels, but the HNC had in engineering got us on the course, so I was allowed to do it. And I'll be honest, Ger, I love nursing still to this. I've been qualified now 14, 15 years, and I've never looked back. I loved every minute of my training. I love all the jobs I've had since I've been nursing. And like I say, I absolutely love it.
So it's when you've got a job that you love, it's brilliant, isn't it? You know, it's not like going to work, is it? It's just, you know.
I think there's no worse job than going to work dreading it. And I've been there, you know, with other jobs, but I've had a few jobs in nursing, and I've loved every one.
Well, when I was in my final, probably 4 months or something in the army, God, I hated it. Like, I every morning I had 5 calendars, 5 separate calendars around my bed space, and I ticked the day off. I don't know why, because now I'm older, I think that was a stupid idea, but at the time I was thinking, you know, 5 calendars, and I just wanted a totally different. I was sick of getting shouted at. You know,
me too. When I was in
rules, just, you know, rules for rules' sake, like, and it's.
Exactly. Well, I had what they call it a DTG. It's a days to go. I'm sure Sam and all the other ex-Matlows will tell you. I had a days to go shit. And when I was on board, when I was on ship, because really, I'm going to skip back a bit. When I was in the Navy, the thing that knocked me plug in, I spent a year in refit, stuck down Plymouth, and I wanted to be at sea. I might have stopped in longer if I'd been at sea, but I had a days to go shit, and I used to scribble it out every day. I was similar to you, mate.
It's all right. It's all about when you think now, isn't it? I'd hate to be going to work now doing that. Thinking, well, there's another day gone. It's just wasting your life. So do you want to speak a little bit, if you can? I'm not asking you to break any confidentiality, but a little bit about what you do now.
Well, I can just explain. When I went in the nursing, when I first qualified, like I say, it's a long time ago now, like say 15 years. I worked in intensive care. I worked there for 5 years. If we get time, I'll go back to why I left that. Then I worked in X-ray a little bit for health reasons. I had to leave intensive care. Then I worked in the community for 4 or 5 years. I think it was about 4 years. But now I'm in a rehabilitation centre. We're NHS. We're all it's nurse led, and it's a good service. What we do, it's when people are in hospital, sometimes they're not well enough to go home. So they come to us to get them back on their feet, to get them back running. We've got OTs, physios working for us. I couldn't believe it the other day when I bumped into you, mind, by the way.
I know.
When you were delivering stuff.
It was a bit of a shock. I've been going to the COVID centre every day since lockdown started, and couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe seeing you there.
I was sitting at my desk typing away, and I heard your voice. That sounds like that.
When you looked out the window, you had a cup of tea in your hand, and it looked like you were D&D typing.
I've been running for a fight, honest, mate. But I've been there a couple of years now, coming up for 2 years, and like I say, I kind of all my nurse training, all my every nurse post I've had, I've enjoyed. Love where I am now, but things changed with COVID. Things changed a little. It was a massive game changer to the whole of the health service, to the whole of the country, as you know, worldwide. So we started taking more complex patients, more poorly patients, and every one of us stepped up the plate. You know, I mean, obviously I've got community experience, I've got experience of intensive care. So all of us, honestly, it was great. We all came together as a team, you know, and from used to being just a rehab place, we all of a sudden became we would take anything, and we had no choice but we pulled together, and we got there. We've got a good management team, and we did, and you know, some awful times. People coming through with COVID, which we were trained for, which we dealt with. All this rubbish about we haven't got enough masks, we haven't got any PPE. We had plenty. We had more than enough.
Because I was delivering them.
Exactly, mate. So I'm not the hero you are. But no, we coped, and we're still going through it now. But we've learned, and I think what we've learned as well is there's a lot of experience where we work, which was untapped. You know, a lot of us have been qualified for a long time, and we're getting through it. And you know, I think we've done a good job.
Yeah, you've done a brilliant job, mate. I take my hat off to any NHS, you know.
Aye.
And I didn't want to be political, but I don't know why you didn't get a pay rise.
Well, that's another story.
It isn't it? Right, we're going to call it a day, mate. Will I see you at circuits this week?
Is it on tomorrow?
It's on tomorrow, 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock.
Is it afternoon tomorrow?
No, it's afternoon on Friday.
Right. Well,
Haley,
if not,
Haley from Haley Storm Fitness is doing it on Friday afternoon.
That sounds a bit hard to me. Like, I might be there. I'll be there Saturday.
All right, and nice one here. Thanks very much for coming on, man.
No problem, Joe.
Really enjoyed the conversation.
All right. Thanks very much. All right.